Oh, a microphony.
And a phony at the mic.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
The Doctor of Discernment is now online.
You know, much like my show, in that it's a local reaction to things that are happening on a federal level.
Dispensing a daily dose of common sense. No prescription required.
Wow, do I have a boatload of stuff for you, from the crazy to the absurd. Let's start getting into it because, I mean, it is bizarro world out there. And I say, if it's obvious to me, it should be obvious to everybody. Oh, wow. Who could have seen this coming?
This is the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage.
Hold on to your butts.
Broadcasting from my basement bunker beneath Keller Radio. In other words, my office. Welcome to the Fourth Hour with Greg Belfrage. I enjoy the time we spend together, and it's great to have you along. Let's start with the President's True Social account. He's suing the New York Times, a $15 billion defamation and libel lawsuit against the New York Times, one of the worst and most degenerate newspapers in the history of our country, becoming a virtual mouthpiece for the radical left Democrat Party. I view it as the single largest illegal campaign contribution ever. And he goes on to make the case there. So I had that in the stack of stuff this morning and didn't, just based on our conversation, I didn't have time to share it with you. Also, late in the program, learned of the death of Robert Redford. He has died at the age of 89, so he passed away at home. He was known for a number of films. I think there were terrific films that he was in. The Candidate, The Way We Were, All the President's Men. Of course, he's known for The Sting. He is also very well known because he tried to encourage independent filmmakers, and he said the industry was pretty well controlled by the mainstream media, which I was part of, but I saw other stories out there that weren't having a chance to be told, and I thought, well, now maybe I can commit my energies to giving those people a chance. As I look back on it, I feel very good about that. So the festival, the Sundance Film Festival, grew so large, they had to relocate it. So he just had an incredible career, Robert Redford. And we're learning this morning that he has passed away. We've got Luigi Mangione, who is back in court. This is the Mangione killed the CEO of United Healthcare. So state bringing its murder case, and in a ruling released today, the judge tossed charges of murder in the first degree as an act of terrorism, which is a bit of a setback. As the New York Post explained, the judge did keep alive his other second-degree murder charges, but what this means is that he will now face 25 years to life instead of 25 years to life without the possibility of parole. So by throwing out those other charges, 25 years to life without the possibility of parole, that's off the table. As far as I'm concerned, be a mistake to ever let that guy out of prison. Personally, what's going on in the left wing, you know, it began with Luigi Mangione and the killing of Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare, and the way the left celebrated that. See anything different with the assassination of Charlie Kirk? The way that the left is reacting to that and celebrating that, these are really disturbing times, I think, that we live in. It's why we've got the Attorney General who's out there. She apparently said they would go after and prosecute hate speech. This became a sensitive issue for a lot of conservatives. So she said Monday her team would absolutely target people spewing hate speech. She said there's free speech and then there's hate speech, and there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society. So this was on a podcast that she was on. We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech. So conservative voices quick to criticize Bondi's remarks, and some who pointed to Charlie Kirk's own comments. Hate speech does not exist legally in America. So Bondi clarified she's talking about hate speech that crosses the line into threats of violence, which she said is not protected by the First Amendment, which of course it's not. But I think it's not the first time Pam Bondi has made comments that have not resonated really well with some folks on the right. So she, the whole, I think, as an example, I would talk about, the Jeffrey Epstein files, and they were going to release, this information. She was out there, and then it turns out, they're. So she, I think, tends to, I don't know if it's a case of not speaking clearly, if it's just or if just not well thought out in the first place. I don't know what it is, but she's tripped herself up here a couple of times with conservatives for comments that she has made. I wanted to share this story. This is a transgender author who had a deal with DC Comics. She was celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, saying her only worry was for the well-being of the sniper's bullet that killed him. She also wrote a fantasy about J.K. Rowling burning to death. And she had said about Charlie Kirk, "Thoughts and prayers, you Nazi bitch," she said. "Hope the bullet's okay after touching Charlie." Can we agree it takes a pretty vile human being to say things like this? Pretty vile. She had a comic book that she was hoping to sell to a DC. I think the first issue had come out, and now it's kaput, because, which I must say surprises me, because the things that occur at DC Comics nowadays, I bought buying new comics a long time ago. It's just a lot of it's absolute trash. And that's the reason why, right there. Exactly what I just explained. Then, while we're talking about nitwits, we got Jimmy Kimmel. Trump is mourning Charlie Kirk's death like how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish. So he's attacking Trump for what he's saying. He said he shared his belief that Trump and his supporters are somehow desperately trying to characterize the kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them. He was not a MAGA supporter. So here you got Jimmy Kimmel out there on his program sharing a lie that's already been debunked. This guy was not a MAGA supporter. Far from it. And I think as the days go on and we learn more, I think that's going to be absolutely crystal clear. That's going to be made clear. But he and his transgender partner were into furries and all manner of ick. I will say I don't talk a lot about on the show. I won't talk about it a lot here. It's just whatever. But Jimmy Kimmel, that guy, Stephen Colbert is not the one who should have been taken off television. It's Jimmy Kimmel. Meanwhile, Jamie Lee Curtis, who is very liberal in her point of view, she where was she? This was a podcast. She was speaking on Mark Maron's podcast that was released on Monday. Now, this I can appreciate what Jamie Curtis is saying of Charlie Kirk. And she's in tears. She said, I disagreed with him on almost every point I ever heard him say, but I believe he was a man of faith. And I hope in the moment that he died that he felt connected with his faith. Even though I find out, his ideas were abhorrent to me, I still believe he's a father and a husband and a man of faith. And I hope whatever connection to God means that he felt it. So she got fairly emotional. I should have just run the audio for you here. I think we've got time.
Charlie Crist was killed 2 days ago.
Charlie.
I'm sorry.
Kirk. Right?
Kirk. I just call him Crist. I think because of Christ, because of his deep belief.
Mm.
I mean, I disagreed with him on almost every point I ever heard him say.
Yeah.
But I believe he was a man of faith.
Mm.
Listen to her.
And I hope in that moment when he died that he felt connected to his faith, even though I find what he...
You see, this is what real compassion sounds like. So Jamie Lee Curtis has got it. And I very much disagree with her on a number of different things. But I think what we see is her having compassion for another human being who was killed, which a lot of people are having trouble showing right now. It's just absolutely crazy. Also, there's I've had this in the stack of stuff here this morning. I didn't get to it. This is a television anchor who has resigned. She was suspended because she aired a nonpartisan tribute in Charlie Kirk's favor. So there she is. It's an Illinois TV anchor. She's resigned from the local ABC affiliate. She was suspended for airing a tear-jerking, nonpartisan tribute to her mentor, Charlie Kirk. So she said she was leaving. Many in the mainstream media have been fired or punished for mocking his assassination, she said. I believe I'm the first to be targeted for honoring him on air. So she told her followers that her resignation is guided by values that are essential to who I am, which is I refuse to set those aside in order to do my job. Exactly right, as nobody should. So she wound up, after she was suspended, quitting. And I thought about bringing that into the conversation as we were talking about, conservatives. Had I seen that piece yesterday, I would have brought it into, the firings that we talked about and how folks are being fired and what's going on. I also wanted to show you this, another story from Breitbart. It's how people around the world, now we're talking about outside of the United States, how they are showing their love for Charlie Kirk. This is absolutely incredible. You see it here. We start with Madrid, Spain. They held a vigil for Charlie Kirk. So in Spain, they did it within hours of his murder. And it grew steadily so this is last week. I had missed this, which is why I wanted to share it. Signs that are made, Charlie Kirk. Candles that are being lit. On Thursday, the conservative Vox Party, which is popular with Spanish youth, held a vigil and a rally, including the president of the Heritage Foundation. And it goes on. In South Korea, conservative youth leaders established 2 memorials for Charlie Kirk. And this goes on. Kirk visited South Korea and Japan the week before he was murdered. He said of his time in South Korea, I didn't even have to think about where I was where I was going, because anywhere I went, I knew it would be perfectly clean and safe. A lot of American cities are not like that. Yeah, he's absolutely right. Massive rally that was held in Kirk's honor in London. That also occurred, and you can see the number of people lining the streets here. Sydney, Australia. They are out there. This is incredible. Turning Point Australia director said plans were in the works for Kirk and his wife to visit Australia before he was assassinated. And he saluted Kirk as a great man. Look at this. These are tributes from all over the world for Charlie Kirk. And then there was a joint vigil that was held for Kirk and Irina Zarutska in Austria last week. This is just absolutely incredible. So you see what's going on in this country with the level, I think, of just vitriol and hatred and some of it, and yet overseas where they are mourning the loss of Charlie Kirk. That is absolutely incredible. It talks about the impact that Charlie Kirk had. Just absolutely phenomenal. And this is why I don't think you can compare, as I mentioned in the last word this morning of the program, this is why you can't compare, well, what about the deaths of these Minnesota lawmakers? And, what about that, as Greg Gutfeld said on the 5 yesterday, this whataboutism is dead. And it's dead to me. I have absolutely no time for it. I just don't buy it. I'm going to leave it there. You have made it to the end of the video. So you are part of my gallery of champions. Special salute to the Bunker Brigade. Those are the folks who are here and commenting, because I love seeing your comments. Even after I conclude, wrap up the video, I go back, I look at all the comments. I want to see what you're saying. I read all my emails. I try to catch every comment on Facebook. So as you engage with me, I'm taking your comments in, and they're very much appreciated. So thank you so much for being here. Until tomorrow, I'm underground and gone.